So over the last lectures, we added our action creators. Right now we're handling only synchronous code though, but I mentioned that the idea of course is to use asynchronous code in there too, at least when it comes to handling orders. Before we do that, we got one piece of asynchronous code we can execute right away though. In the burger builder container, we used to fetch our ingredients from component did mount, and I paused this temporarily when we switched to Redux. Now is the time to again fetch this. And there are two routes you can take. You can comment in the old code in component did mount, where we reach out to our Firebase backend, where we fetch the data. And instead of calling this set state here, you could dispatch some to be created action, which updates our ingredients in the Redux store. Then you would run the async code in your component, and you wouldn't need action creators at all, because you just dispatch normal actions in the end once the response is there. That is perfectly fine to do. But the idea behind action creators is that you can still put your async code into the Redux world, and as I mentioned earlier, this is the route I want to take here. For that, I first of all need to install Redux Func. So I'll quit my npm start process, and with npm install -- save, I'll install redux-func. That's this middleware which allows us to use asynchronous code in action creators due to the middleware wrapping itself around the dispatch action and blocking the request until the async code is done, so to say. With it installed, we can restart npm start, and now I want to add this middleware. So what I'll do is I'll head over to index.js, and there at the top I'll add my import. I'll import func, you can name it whatever you want, from Redux Func. And this func here now has to be added with apply middleware. So I'm going to import something from Redux, and that something is apply middleware. And since we also have the DevTools added, you learned that we also need to import compose and then adjust our DevTools setup. We can consult the DevTools page again to see that setup we should use. We created that compose enhancers thing where we either used the Redux DevTools variable or the native compose function from the Redux package. And then we created our store with that compose enhancers function, which allowed us to then also pass apply middleware as an argument. So this is the setup I'll use here too. I'll just copy the code from the GitHub page and paste it into my index.js file before I create the store. This code here, where I reach out to this variable or the compose function we just imported. Keep in mind, compose allows us to compose our own set of enhancers, and middleware is just one kind of enhancer. The DevTools would be another example. So with that, we got our compose enhancers constant. Now if we have a look at the GitHub page, we should create the store by passing it and then passing apply middleware as an argument. So let's do that. Let's get rid of the old code we passed as a second argument to create store, and let's instead use compose enhancers as a function here. Now to this function, and I'll just put this into a new line to make it a bit easier to read, I'll pass apply middleware, and to apply middleware, I'll pass func, the middleware I want to apply. With that, the func middleware is unlocked and should work fine. The DevTools also still should work fine. We should still see them if we reload the page. Looks good. So now we can start writing async code in our action creators. Let's do that for fetching the ingredients we may add in the next lecture.